It's it's different every time. Some characters require some sort of technical research, or maybe you have to do a skill. Your character's good at something that you don't know what to do, so you have to sort of physically learn something, or maybe you have to get fit. For this Kenobi series, I knew that I was 20 years older than I'd been when we did it. And I knew that I could remember how physically exhausting those fight sequences were in the prequels. So I had to get myself fit in order just to be able to do them, properly in the series as an older chap. And but it depends. Sometimes Sometimes once you've read the script, your subconscious imagination is doing all the work, and you don't have to think about it until you get on stage, on set. It just depends.
Would you say that Obi-Wan Kenobi was one of the more difficult you're coming back to prepare for, or which character was the most difficult to prepare for?
No, they're none of. I've never seen what I do in any way as difficult. So there's different challenges, but I've never found any of it. I've never found it difficult as such. Because it's not really like that. It's not something that's hard or difficult. It's something that's coming back to playing him again was like it was just a dream. It was nice. It was so easy, to put we had to do some camera tests. And this is the first time where I met Vivian for the first time. We did some camera tests and with other actors, and I was in just to read scenes with them, and it was a few months before we started doing the actual series. So I hadn't thought about it very much. I came in and to the studio, and his wardrobe, Obi-Wan's wardrobe was hanging up, and I was sort of like flummoxed when I looked at that for the first time. I was like, oh my god. So I put that back on, and that was like another oh my goodness moment. And then I went on set, and we were shooting on the Mandalorian's set on a Sunday when they weren't shooting, and but we used a lot of their crew. And so when I walked out as him again, dressed as him at least, I could feel it in the crew, and I realised this is kind of a big moment, And then I came to read the scenes with the different actors. They were reading for different roles, and it didn't sound like it at all. I hadn't thought about it, and I just assumed that it would be there, but it wasn't. I was doing a sort of English accent type of thing, and not Obi-Wan at all. And so I was a bit embarrassed, like reading with other actors, and then I realised that was something that I had to address. So I went back and watched. I just sat down and watched all of the Star Wars films through the prequels, and then the original 3, and that was really useful. And then I'll have a sort of Obi-Wan MP3 that's just all Alec Guinness's lines. It's always important to me to try and feel like Alec Guinness, and I don't try and I don't ever try and sort of like do an impersonation of him, but it does have to feel like him. And there's, when I'm not happy with the take, it's because it's not quite Alec enough. And sometimes I just do a really Alec Guinness take, and then go back from there. Then it starts to feel right.
What was it like coming back to Obi-Wan Kenobi amid so much anticipation and excitement to see you back in that role?
I didn't think about it. I tried not to think about it very much, because it's that kind of pressure. It's a bit scary. And I like to just imagine that was the director and the producer's pressure. It had nothing to do with me, So, because I'd already been Obi-Wan Kenobi, so I felt, well, people would be disappointed that it's me, I hope. And but yeah, once we'd made it, it was lovely to feel the nice thing for me really is it's opened up sort of a corridor for me, feeling people's love for the prequels that I never felt that before. So that's been lovely. By coming back to play Obi-Wan again, that's been a really nice thing that's happened to me, and by meeting you all, meeting people over the last couple of days. Comic-Cons around the country and around the world to those early films, and that means the world to me.
And on Obi-Wan Kenobi, you got to work with one of your daughters, and you also worked with another daughter on You Sing Loud, I Sing Louder. What has it been like for you getting to work with your children in this industry?
Yeah. It's difficult to describe. It's the most extraordinary thing. I mean, working with Esther on this was amazing. It was a couple of days, but I thought she really came in, she really brought something to that role that wasn't necessarily on the page. It was she had a line in it, and I don't know, I never really asked Deborah, our director, whether she cast her on purpose for this reason or not, but she has a line where she says, I was someone's daughter too, you know. And it was sort of so, I don't know if the word meta, I don't actually know what the word meta means, but it was very meta. It was very meta, you know what I mean? It was a kind of bonkers moment, but lovely, and just so proud. I'm just so proud of my girls anyway, as we are as parents, but to get to see them working professionally and holding their own and taking a role and making their own out of it was really, really lovely. And then when the film with Clara was much more, it was a full feature film, and we played father and daughter in it, and Clara, she worked with a writer, but it was really, she isn't credited as the writer because there was a real writer, but she developed the whole story, and it was very much based around our relationship, my eldest daughter Clara and I, and through a difficult period in our relationship and a difficult period in her life personally, and she wrote this amazing story about a father and a daughter who aren't us, but they are us at the same time. And that was again an amazing experience. And she also produced it, and I was able to see her. I just came into acting, and I get to watch my daughter. I was very impressed with the way she was with the crew and how she held herself as not only the actor, the leading actress in it, but also the producer of it. How she dealt with those two jobs was really impressive. You know, I was impressed by her, and that's nice. I was very, very proud of her.
And then looking back a little bit at your career, what was it like to direct and star in American Pastoral?
Yeah. Woo! Well, it was. Oh, thank you. That one person. One of you, I don't know who you are, brought me a DVD to sign. One of you brought my movie that I directed. Thanks. Oh, you were very kind. I loved it. I mean, listen, it was a tall order in that it's a huge novel and very important novel, American novel. And I was attached to act in this film for a long time and couldn't find a director, the right director. I couldn't find a director to do it. And in the end, I wanted to direct. I made a short film in the 90s, early 2000s. I've always wanted to direct. I've learned a lot over the years from working with some of the world's finest directors, and just also knowing what I like, how I like things to go on a film set, and how it don't feel right to me. I thought it would be a nice way to have it go exactly the way I like it. It would be nice, I thought. And I was right. It was an amazing experience. I stepped in as the director because my agent one day said, "Look, maybe you want to direct. Maybe it's right in front of your nose." I went, "What do you mean?" He said, "American Pastoral." And I was like, "My God, it's such a big part. Never mind directing it." But I suggested it to the producers, and they let me do it. The first thing they did was, you know, when you agree to do a film, there's money involved, it's a transaction of sorts, and they say, "We're paying this much money to play the role." You go, "Thank you very much. I'll be happy to do it." And then when I became the director as well, they halved my fee. That's what happens. They went, "Okay, you can do it, but we're going to pay you less." And I was like, "Do twice the work. Are you kidding me?" But anyway, that's the way it went. I was happy to do it regardless, and I had the most amazing experience working with the actors. I loved mainly rehearsing every scene we got to. I'd clear everyone out, and it would just be me and the actors to rehearse the scene, nobody else. And it sort of felt like we were making a movie without a director. It was like we were getting away with something, you know. It was often just me and another actor, Jennifer Connelly or Dakota Spanning, or just the two of us. Like we just play the scene until we thought it was the way it should be. Then we get the crew in and show them the scene, and then we would set about shooting it. It was wonderful. The post-production was tricky in that I don't have any experience. All my experience was in, you know, I understand a bit about pre-production. I mean, I understand all of it, but I have no experience in post-production, what you do afterwards with the edit, music, sound design, and grading, and all of the different elements that make up post-production were new to me, you know. And that's where I felt I learned the most, if you like. And then the film coming out was just something I've never experienced. It was in the lead up to the big election, the election, two elections ago. And the film is American pastoral. I don't know what it was. I'll never really know. But it just didn't. It didn't have the. You know, you spend a year and a bit of your life passionately working every waking moment of the day on something, and then it comes out like very, very quietly, and nobody really goes to see it in the cinema and everything. It was a blow. You know, it was like I've been in lots of films that didn't perform very well in the box office, but to me it didn't matter very much because I was just, you know, I was happy. I always got something out of it. But when you direct something, it's really your baby in a way, and then for it to not perform in any way was like really hard. I found that really, really hard.
Are you interested in directing again?
Never.
No.
Are you kidding? Yeah. I loved it. I would definitely do it again. I just haven't. I knew that it's just so much. You put so much of yourself into it. I mean, I've learned to be much more understanding of directors, I think, from having done it, because I know now what you put of yourself into something like that is an unbelievable commitment. And then I just couldn't do that again just for the sake of it. I'd have to do it again because I found a story that I had to tell. And I'm sort of just waiting. I'm a bit lazy. I'm just sort of waiting for it to find me instead of going out to find it. But that's not an invitation to send scripts. Anyway, somebody might have very good scripts. I'm not suggesting they're not good. I'm just saying send them to someone else. Okay.
How has your documentary series kind of influenced the way that you look at narrative filmmaking now?
Yeah, I don't know that there's a link as such. I mean, I'm not involved in the edit of my documentaries. I think it's important in a way not to be, just so that you can have, you know, there's no sort of ego involved, of my ego. I mean, involved in, you know, oh, don't use that bit or don't use that bit. I let the, you know, the experience be edited the way that our directors think it should be. And but my goodness, it's good for the soul to get out in the world and travel, and that's been a great joy of mine always. And I'm lucky that I'm in a profession where I am always going to this place or that place, and often places you might not think of to go on holiday. And then when you're working somewhere, you meet people who are from that place, and so you get to know a town in a different way. You know, you get to know it in a different way than you might if you were a tourist. But with our Long Way Round series, which is available to watch I've combined the both, you know, so it absolutely is me and my mate Charlie, and we take off on our motorbikes and we go, you know, wherever we go, but and we get to shoot it with our amazing intrepid cameraman Claudio von Planta, who's a genius, and yeah, we make these funny documentaries just about us trying to get somewhere really far away on our motorbikes. It's been amazing for my life. I love the experience of it. I've met some amazing people, and I've seen parts of the world you would never otherwise see. You know, so I've been very lucky.
Very nice. Everyone should watch it. It is very excellent.
Yeah.
But also stories that you would like to tell. Are there any Scottish stories, be it folklore or historical, that you're waiting to see made and would like to be part of?
Yeah, I was going to make Kidnapped, the Robert Louis Stevenson novel, some years ago, and I was excited about it. That's a classic adventure book that was written just after the clearances in Scotland in the 1700s, I think. Real swashbuckling stuff, you know, and a great character, really wonderful character to play. And then it just we were, you know, anyway, long story short, it didn't happen, and would like to do though. It's left me wanting to make it. Some projects fall apart and you don't think about them again, but that one I think would be an amazing story. Scotland's so beautiful, like it's the most amazingly beautiful country, and the landscape and the people there, it's just an amazing place, and I've enjoyed working there so much over the years. Charlotte Bray, we made there, Train Spotting. David Mackenzie, Young Adam, and then Perfect Sense. That's what it's called, thank you. Said it, I was like, I don't know. I might not be what it's called at all. So those 4 films I've made in Scotland, I've always loved it. Oh, and Salmon Fishing in the Yemen we shot there as well. So I love working at home, and I'd like to do more so. So Kidnap might, who knows, it might come back, I really hope so. I'd love to make a contemporary film there, I've always enjoyed. There's a beautiful Ken Loach film called The Angels Share. That's a lovely film. There's a sort of fun, there's a specific tone to Scottish sort of comedy in movies that goes back to my Uncle Dennis's days and Local Hero, which was an amazing movie that he was in. And that sort of, and Gregory's Girl, and there's that sort of Scottish humour that I get like 100%, you know, because I'm from there, and I love those movies. So I'd love to try and do something maybe funny, and maybe I should direct my next film there. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to find a Scottish script from one of you here today. I'm going to direct it there, and my Uncle Dennis will star in it.
There you go. That were asked on social media.
Okay.
So Isabellina 97 on Instagram asked, if you could rewind time and get to play any character in the Star Wars universe other than Obi-Wan Kenobi, who would you pick and why?
Oh dear, well.
No pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I'm just trying to throw my mind back to being a little boy seeing the film the first time. And I remember being standing outside my school. I was 6 with my big brother, who was 2 years older than me, in our school uniform with our red socks, and waiting for my mum and dad to pick us up to take us to the big city to watch a movie that my uncle was in. And so we're super excited to see Uncle Dennis on the big screen, like that hadn't happened before. So we're so excited. And then we went there and sat down, and it was Star Wars. I mean, you can imagine my tiny mind being blown apart. And I'm trying to remember that wee boy. I think I would have wanted to play Han Solo, I think, probably. Not that I'm saying that would have been any better at all. I certainly wouldn't have come close to Harrison's performance. But that character appealed to me, for sure.
Very nice. Well, Cosmic Mycelia on Instagram asked, if there was one thing, a value, a message, a philosophy that you would hope that people would take away from the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi, what would you want it to be?
I mean, I think in the series we got to sort of explore something that was important that I hadn't realised about him maybe in the prequels, but this idea of acceptance and the fact that it was hard for him to be. I'm trying to answer a very serious question. That kind of heckling just won't do. The knocking about with the little Leia, and how he hasn't got very paternal instincts as such, you know, because I guess of his background and been learning to be a Jedi since he was tiny, and then learning to accept and to understand, and I suppose those are sometimes very difficult for adults, those ideas, but I think that would be one of an answer to our question, that the idea of being understanding and accepting and acceptance of people for who they are.
That's a good message.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a genre I don't watch horror for pleasure, really, particularly. I'm too fearty. I'm too scaredy to be able to enjoy it. Just can't sleep for days. But I remember the Blair Witch Project coming out. I remember I was in Australia doing Moulin Rouge, and then the second. I remember I was doing Moulin Rouge. And the second Star Wars film, and it came. There was this big, you heard about it all over the place, but it hadn't been out yet. And then they brought it there, and we went to watch it in this outdoor screening place in Sydney, Australia, at night. It was fantastic. And I remember I loved that film, even though it was scary, And then The Shining is the other one, I suppose, because The Shining again is absolutely terrifying and at the same time bonkers. And I've got this funny link to it now that I did the sort of sequel. So
Since you mentioned musicals, there is a question from Laura Lynn Worrell on Facebook, which is, would you ever do another musical?
Yes. Oh, yes. I've recently had a few. I've just never had any offers on them since Moulin Rouge. So I've started to wonder if they would take it a bit personally. Like fending off scripts. I don't know I've ever been offered one since. Lumiere, sorry, yes, absolutely, Lumiere. Yes.
Hey, Pinocchio!
I did a bit of singing that, and I did a bit of singing in Pinocchio. I got to do a little show at the end of that. I did that in my caravan during COVID lockdown. All of Pinocchio I recorded in my caravan on my own with Guillermo del Toro in my ear. Just shows what you can do. So I'd be very up for it. I love singing. I love the musical genre, and I would be absolutely. I'd be so lucky to do another one. I'd love to.
Excellent. Aco Lauren LOL on Instagram asked, you've played a wide variety of characters throughout your career. Is there any kind of character you haven't gotten to play yet that you want to?
I don't know till you read it, really. I don't think so. I don't. Also, people are unique. It's not like there are kinds of people you can play. People are 100% unique. So until you read them and your imagination decides who they are, you don't really know. So I don't answer that question, I'm afraid.
That is perfectly all right. Crystal Berrywood on Facebook asked, you have voiced various animated characters in your career, including Rodney in Robots. Is it more or less enjoyable? Definitely Robots, yes. What is the difference for you between voicing and then screen acting?
Well, the real answer is that the animations are really boring. You do them, they're just so picky, and you do them over and over and over and over and over again, and you also do them entirely alone. There was one, I did an animation in Britain, I played a pigeon in a World War II, what was it called?
Valiant?
Valiant, and there was a comedian in Britain who was also in it, and the first time I went in to record that, I did a few scenes. He was playing another role, we actually recorded together. But generally speaking, you do them on your own, and sometimes the director behind the glass there will be reading in, but it's a very myopic sort of endeavor, whereas acting with other actors in real situations is much more fulfilling, I would say. Yeah.
Mason Rye on Instagram
Not
asked,
to get off on any more animations.
hopefully you keep doing it. But how did your experience differ between filming the Star Wars prequels and then filming Obi-Wan Kenobi, since you were not only just acting but also a producer on the project?
Yeah, it was very, very different. Also mainly because the technology had gone on, has progressed so much, and we had that big volume. We had a screen, like a 300-degree screen on the set where that played all the backgrounds, and so it felt much more realistic. It wasn't just blue screen or green screen, which was the experience of doing the prequels. Very much like a lot of the time we were just in a blue set or a green set with no set, and that's again, it's more satisfying when you're in the real environment, you know, and that's what it felt like doing that. Deborah Chow, our director, is just unbelievably brilliant, and working with her working with any director is different because again, directors have a very unique perspective, and so it was lovely to work with her on the Kenobi series as well. That made it very different. And then I'm older, and he's older, and I was looking. Somebody brought in, a couple of guys actually brought in that were in the 501st, brought in photographs. Who did some scenes in the Kenobi, and I was looking at the cast in the front of those photographs, just going, just such great actors, you know, and it was brilliant fun to play with them all. And yeah, that would be the big differences, I guess.
Very nice. There was another question about Obi-Wan Kenobi, for obvious reasons. But the real Benetivo on Instagram wants to know what your favorite on-set memory is with Hayden Christensen.
All of them. I mean, all of them. I remember rehearsing with Hayden back when he started. We shot the second episode, the second movie in Australia, in Sydney. There was a time when the studios in Sydney were being used a lot, and so we shot episode 2 and episode 3 down there. And he, of course, wasn't in the first film, and then arrived in the second film, and I was just I was so happy to meet him, and I knew that we were going to be in these 2 movies at least together, and he was just such a lovely guy, such a lovely man, and a passionate young actor, and he came in, and we, you know, the first things we ended up doing together were the fight training, you know, the rehearsals for all the lightsaber fights, and so that was how I got to know him really in there, working with Nick Gillard, the stunt coordinator on the prequels, and yeah, we got on really, really well, you know. We were away from home, and so we hung out a lot together. It was great. I'm trying to think of, I don't think if there's any, like, funny, I know people love a funny story. I can't think of, like, a funny one where we fell off a camel or something, but I don't know, just, I'm still really happy to be working. I love him so much. It's so nice to have this chance to come back together again and have a big fight sequence again in this, the Kenobi series was just fantastic.
It's definitely very exciting as fans to see the two of you get together on
I got to act with Darth Vader in this series, and I hadn't acted with Darth Vader before, and it was totally terrifying. Like the first completely became the first fight scene we have in the series was in episode 3, I think. We were shooting in this big disused gasworks in the east end of LA, like just not where you would imagine. You'd find yourself shooting something from Star Wars, but there we were at night. And we'd rehearsed this fight, and I was getting ready, and they said, okay, ready for the first take, and I was doing my makeup, and Darth Vader's over there, and we'd been rehearsing obviously without a full costume, full suit on. So I hadn't seen him, and then they went action, and I had to be walking away, and he comes at me over my shoulder, and walking away, and I hear him, and I turn, and Darth Vader's coming. Oh my God, excuse me, the children. Sorry. But it was a terrifying moment to see him. I was suddenly like 6 again, you know, the primal fear of Darth Vader. It was great. And the stormtroopers as well. I didn't work with stormtroopers before. I don't think that's right, isn't it? I was clones. Is that right?
That's correct.
I was terrified. You know so much more about it than I do. You know, it's terrifying. Okay, I won't bring up any more Star Wars things.
That's unfortunate, because we are playing a game in a little bit that involves Star Wars things, but we'll get to that one. Start thinking. There was one more question from a fan that was wanting to know, do you plan on doing another season of the Long Way series? And what could that look like now that we've gone round, down, and up?
Well, I'm not at liberty to say, really, but... Yeah, but watch the space, I would say. I can say that, yes.
Very good, excellent. Now with that little tease about the game, we are going to pick up with the game that we played with all of you before the panel. So, we're going to ask you a series of Star Wars themed this or that questions, and there is no wrong answer. But we are going to kind of like look short. There is actually this. But we are going to see how your answers stack up to the answers that the fans gave before the panel.
Okay.
You will be looking right down here at the viewfinder. So if you are going on vacation, where are you choosing to go? Coruscant or Naboo?
Coruscant. I know my way around much better than
Well, it looks like the audience would go to Naboo.
Okay.
But, you know, I think Coruscant's a good answer.
Well, I've got a unique. I was at work there tonight. That's where I have my office.
Vacationing close to where you worked. Excellent. Question 2.
And I haven't been back since the Order of 67. It's been a while. It'd be nice to see the old place.
So if you were choosing a weapon, are you choosing a blaster or a lightsaber?
Lightsaber.
Which is a very popular answer.
Get yourself right up and close to the action, you know what I mean?
Yes. What was it like to have your lightsaber back for Obi-Wan Kenobi? I mean, how exciting was that?
Well, it was very exciting, and but they're different. They've moved. When me and Hayden were fighting in episode 2 and 3, our lightsabers were, and in episode 1 with Liam and Ray Park, we were using lightsabers that were handles that look like our nice handles, but they're smooth. They're smooth to fight with, so you can spin them. They don't tear your hands up. So you got a sort of smoother handle, and then we had a metal pole, like a rod, and it was made of, I don't know, some kind of alloy. And there was a guy, I always wished I remember his name, but he would stand on the side of the set, and his job was just making lightsabers, because after every take, we would bend, it'd be bent, because it's full contact when you're doing these fights. That's why you have to learn them so accurately. And occasionally we'd hit each other, and you often got your knuckles wrapped, which isn't much fun. But the blades would be bent after every take, and we'd have to replace the blades. But on the Kenobi series, as you can see here, that light is on set. Like the lightsabers do light up now, which is nice because you get all that lighting effect. And there's an amazing moment at the end with Hayden when his helmet's cracked, where the light goes from blue to red, and it's totally an accident. It was just something that we were doing with our lightsabers during that scene that made the blue light come off and the red light come on, and it was like, oh, that's nice. That works. So we sort of led into it, but it was just purely an accident. So for lighting, it's better. But I have to say, for the actual sword fighting, when the contact isn't as firm, because they're made of a hard plastic, there's a slight arming when you hit each other. I sort of yearn a bit for the old metal days, you know. That's me.
All right, question 3.
Okay.
Which droid? I know, this is a tough one.
I mean, that's impossible. That's not fair. I mean, I'm lucky. I worked with Danny Baker on episode 1. He was inside R2-D2, as he was in the original movies. And Anthony, I know, I've worked with Anthony in Seeds Back, and it wouldn't be right to choose, would it? You talked about crushing one of them. I mean, I was backstage. I heard what you're going to do. That's not fair. Yeah, R4. That's it. That's my out. Thank you very much. I couldn't possibly. I love them both so much. You couldn't possibly.
It works. Yeah.
I'm just gonna take the 5th on this one. I'm not doing it.
All right, question 4. Which one would you pick?
It's that clip, the mullet clip. Let's swing though. That's a nice wee lightsaber spin there. First I go from Padawan braid.
And it looks like it was not the popular pick, but
Here's a story about Mustafar. This is funny. So when we're shooting this, we were in Australia. We shot the film, and then we came back some months later. George always liked to do pickups. Like once he had a chance to edit the film, we'd always come back and do 2-3 weeks of pickups, and sometimes whole new scenes. Sometimes just line from this scene or a pickup or something. And in this one, we were in London on stage doing pickups for this fight on Mustafar. And I heard that Robert De Niro was going to come to the stage, to the set, because he had his kids in London and knew George, and he was going to pop by, say hello. And I don't know about you, but for me, like the idea of meeting Robert De Niro was like, totally mind-blowing. I was beyond excited that I might actually meet him. He's like an absolute hero. And so we go on set, and Hayden and I are standing on a green stage, and there's a disc. Have you heard the story? So there's a disc, and it's off the ground about a foot, and so I'm standing on it with my lightsaber. And over here's another one, and Hayden's on his. And lying on the floor is a man, and lying on his floor is a man, because they rotate these discs, and the man is making us turn around like this. He's over there, and he's going this way. And as we're doing this, not a very sexy moment, I would say, that we cut, and as we're waiting to do the next take, he goes, I heard that De Niro might be here. And my prop guy hadn't stopped turning me around, and as I was turning, I saw De Niro behind the monitor. There's two ladies here. Oh boy, so humiliating. And I was lucky to meet him some years later, and I told him the story. I was like, I was so embarrassed. He was like, no, what? It was embarrassing. Anyway, so I would just say. And then that fight, Bangor's, where is that the one?
The rematch.
Oh, that's the end one.
Yes.
Oh, let's go for Mustafar, because we were younger then.
And there you go, Mustafar. That's indeed the popular opinion.
What was wrong with Bangor? That's not a good score for that one. 21%.
All right, question 6. This is the last one, so make it good. Are you choosing Jedi or Sith?
But for what? I mean, this is...
You're either going to be a Jedi or a Sith.
Well, I am a Jedi.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. It's always so touching to meet you all at these events, and this one no less than any of the others. It's been so lovely to meet you and take photographs with you and sign your autographs. I do love it. You're the best fans anyone could ever hope for.